So I will mute Yise, who is typing very loudly. So, by the way, it's nice to meet you. Nice to have you on our meetings, Yise. So it is just at this time you decided to join the MSI community, but it's better later than never. So we help you welcome on board, and we really expect that you will be exactly the same eager and as on PWA Slack. So we're waiting for your contribution, ideas, and so on. So let's follow our agenda, and we will start. So as you know, we are working on the small release. Actually, it's not really small. So we introduce three quite big stories there. So we introduce a support of Elasticsearch for custom stocks. We introduce because currently MSI and especially custom stocks are supported just on a default, just on the MySQL adapter. And regarding the Elasticsearch, we have the support just for the default stock. Taking into account that MySQL adapter was deprecated since 2.3.0, for us it was pretty critical to release support of custom stocks, custom inventory stocks for Elasticsearch adapter. So that will appear since the upcoming release of MSI. Also, we are releasing a bunch of performance upgrades, because we had slight performance degradation, especially for the default stock. Because for the default stock, we have some tricky implementation involve the MySQL view, and the MySQL view is usually not the most performant part of the MySQL. That's why we had some problems, and in the scope of this release, I believe we will fix all of them, or at least most of them. And the biggest feature part which we're going to release is the distance-based algorithm, so that we will tell you during this meeting how we are preparing the release of the distance-based algorithm, because initial pull request with the distance-based algorithm Ricardo created probably a month and a half or maybe even 2 months ago. But we are refining this pull request, because this pull request introduced quite a lot of additional APIs. So we are trying to make these APIs as more efficient as possible. So that now Slava will tell you a little bit more regarding how we are preparing for the smoke testing, which we have to do before the release 1.1.0 of the MSI package. So Slava, feel free to share your screen and share with your update.
Hello everyone. Ricardo, Mazel Tov. So I will start from presentation from Tom about MSI quality and testing status update. And for manual testing, we have now on the moment of presentation creation, we used to have 576 test scenario. 142 of them is automated. And according our last manual testing cycle, on that moment we have 505 test scenario, and the result of testing was that 468 was passed well, 12 are failed, 20 was skipped, and 5 are blocked. Now, automated testing. Our automatization now on the 25% of all test scenario what is on heap tests. And by severity, it's split. It's that 57% of them have 0 severity, 01 have 36%, and 7 second severity. 60 of them about catalog, 40 about configuration, 32 about sales. According result of MFTF functional testing, 125 of them passing, which is 87%, 30 are skipped. And test creation trend. So since 7 of December of last year, we have 70 test scenario new added to heap test, and they all not automated yet because automation is still on the same level, but 7 of them they on PR were pending to mainline. And I think that's all for report from Tom. And now I will tell you about, today I was working of writing scenario for distance-based source selection algorithm. I created new folder on heap test, dedicated source selection algorithms, and I added 6 new scenario for distance algorithm. 4 of them it's work of algorithm with Google Map provider, and also there is 3 different type of mode of computation: driving, walking, bicycling. They all are present here. And if to open one scenario, this is what is by default for driving calculation. We create, first we of course setting in configurations that distance algorithm working. We enter APK and set other configuration setting. Then we create 3, in my test scenario, 3 different sources. 2 of them in United States and 1 in Kiev. And in stock, I said that Kiev source have more priority. And then in this scenario, we place order from New York. One source in Culver City, another in Austin. So according to distance source selection algorithm, system have to choose the closest city, what is Austin for New York, if I am no geography okay. And also another test scenario cover this case when you are not have enough quantity on one of the source. So source selection algorithm is supposed to propose you to deduct from one source and the rest from another source. So in this case, it's proposed to deduct first from Austin, then from Culver City. And also 2 scenarios dedicated to offline calculation when we manually download tables for countries and then use source selection algorithm based on distance calculation. And I think that's all from me.
Okay, thank you, Slava.
Thank you, Slava.
So yeah, it's pretty important for us to have all these use cases to be documented, because this new type of algorithm introduces quite a lot of business cases. Because as Slava mentioned, we support different modes. So we support both offline mode when there is no any online provider is involved, as well as online mode where we use Google as a provider for the geo coordinates and the calculator of the distances between 2 points. So that also, like, we have different computation modes, so we will provide the ability to deliver for merchant to make a logistic based on driving mode, whether cycling mode or just walking mode, depending on how the particular orders are delivered. So that all of these different types of use cases supposed to be covered with corresponding use cases, because there are a lot of cases need to be tested, even in the scope of the smoke testing, so that we want to document all of them to ease our further work and to prevent the bug happening in future. And most of these use cases would be automated with the help of the MFTF framework in future. So now that's probably all regarding the preparation for update for MSI new release. And you see that how we preparing like all the testing stuff for this upcoming release. And now let's proceed probably for the most brilliant feature in the scope of this release. So the feature contributed by Ricardo, the distance-based algorithm, and Ricardo will shed some light on refinement he did in the scope of last week to make this feature to shine even brighter, and what exactly changes he introduced and what we agreed upon during this week. So Ricardo, if you have possibility to talk loudly. So
I'm not sure I can speak now because I'm at the hospital now. So I'm sorry. If you can explain,
sure.
What are the? I'm sorry, but I cannot speak loudly.
Okay, not a problem.
Igor, you're on mute. Unmute yourself.
Sorry. So let me share with you a little bit more technical background on this topic. So the main part was, so Ricardo introduced this distance-based algorithm, and actually distance-based algorithm, as according to this modularity, new modularity approaches, we are following in Magento 2.3 for all the newly created features. So the distance-based algorithm is actually represented by 3 modules. One module actually introduced the APIs for the distance-based algorithm, implementation part, and the admin UI part. So for all of this functionality, we have a dedicated module. And regarding the API part, we have the distance provider, and we have the service which calculates the distance by address. And the most interesting part, and the part which we discussed the most, was because this newly created algorithm should be injected into our existing system and extend our existing extension point, so that we have the inventory source selection API. So this is module, and the inventory source selection API already provides one out-of-the-box implementation, which we released in the scope of our in the scope of our first release of MSI. So the priority-based algorithm, where we actually did not use any inbound data, but we just use the configuration data, so the priority of sources in the scope of the stock to which the sources are assigned to. But taking into account that we got this newly created algorithm, the distance-based algorithm, and distance-based algorithm need additional inbound data to be provided. In our case, this data actually is represented by the address. So you can see here on this precise listing that we are building our inventory request object, and before that, in our previous version of algorithm, it was okay just to specify the stock ID and all the items requested in the scope of the request. So the items actually just a pairs of the SKU and quantity. But since we need to provide the most nearest sources, so the most nearest warehouses for the to the shipping address, here we need to provide the shipping address. That's why here you see that this is implemented via the extension attributes, and we set these extension attributes to our inventory request entity. And why do we use the extension attributes? Because potentially, so inventory request interface. So potentially this object could be extended with any other data, so that potentially if there any further algorithm appear which should apply, for example, gender segregation, it would be easy to edit with additional extension attribute. Because, for example, if there are going to be sources which provide just goods for men or just for women, it would be easy to do that with this extension attribute. And the most interesting part from the technical point of view was how to provide an interface, or how to provide a contract which the contract for different algorithms should be, so whether to make sense to introduce kind of abstract layer for all algorithms, taking into account that different source selection algorithm can require different inbound data. For example, algorithm created by Ricardo need address, but the priority-based algorithm actually doesn't need any address. So you see that there is no common contract in this case. That's so what we did. We decided to limit the scope of potential data to be injected into the algorithm by a scope of order. And if somebody will need to run the source selection algorithm at the time when order is not created, for example, at the time of the placing order, to calculate the precise shipping information, the one need to introduce own factory. So currently we have just the get inventory from order. So this service plays a role of factory, so that if one need to introduce a service which builds inventory requests based on quote, he will need to introduce own service like get inventory request from quote. And here in the scope of this request, we actually built this whole object, inventory request, and specify all the attributes needed. Currently, this contract accepts the order ID. So what it means that we can grab all the data from order. And so currently we inject just address, but potentially it could be anything else. And if the third-party extension developer need to this data to be injected, he can now just to pluginize or decorate this factory, or like provide own implementation where he does it in the scope of this newly created implementation. So this is how we this is how our final implementation looks like, and this is how the inventory source selection API looks like. Also, it's pretty interesting part how we like releasing the new version of algorithm. We introduced some like we had to apply some changes to already released files. And taking into account that in Magento we used to proceed with non-backward incompatible changes. In the scope of the patch releases, I will show you how we try to mitigate all the possible backward incompatibilities. And I did this probably not in the scope of this pull request. Oh, Ricardo just merged my pull request, so I did not find it. So I show you how this was implemented. So, for example, let's take this service, and this is just a model. And it happened that after some refactoring, we now need any more two parameters which are injected to the constructor. And these parameters were typed parameters. So the precise precise type was here. But keeping this type is not really good, even if you don't use this parameter anymore. So it's not sufficient just to remove the private variable here. Because what will happen in this case, the object manager will still create this object and will inject this to the constructor. So the constructor would not just use it, but we will still proceed with this object creation. And moreover, the static tests will also calculate the number of the external dependencies. Even so, this dependency is actually not used. So what's the correct way, how we supposed to eliminate, how we supposed to get rid of this dependency? Because we can't just remove it, because there's still a possibility that third-party developer will introduce own entity and will extend from this class, calling the super constructor and providing this argument. So that if we will just remove this argument out of this constructor, we can potentially break the child class, which calls the super class constructor. So that we still have to preserve this argument, but what we are doing, we are just deprecating them clearly and say that it should be null. Here we just remove the type hinting. Removal type hinting happens just to prevent object manager to create this dependency. So this will increase, so this will boost performance a little bit. And also we will just no need to create a needed dependency. But in any case, object manager will try to create something. So to prevent object manager to create something, we have to specify the DI. And in the DI, we have the XSI type null. So that actually it means that DI, our object manager will just inject null in this case. Doing all of this stuff is actually help us to eliminate dependency which we don't need anymore. And by the way, I checked in our backward compatibility guide that removal of the deprecated code, constructor, adding constructor parameter, we have the example here. But regarding the removal, regarding the removal, yeah. So the to preserve the constructor signature, remove type hinting for unused parameters to remove dependency on their type, and add suppress warning. But here we don't have statement mentioning that the DI configuration should be added specifying the XSI type null for this parameter. Because if somebody will proceed just with two of these items, actually he will have the fatal error at the time of the object instantiation, because the object manager is not able to instantiate required parameter without type hinting. So that's probably a good point for our backward compatibility guide to be updated. And this is how you see that on MSI we preserve the backward compatibility, updating even entities which are not marked with an API php.log. So this is pretty interesting part I wanted to highlight during this demo meeting. And as you've seen, Ricardo just merged my pull request into his one, and I believe we will process his pull request and merge into 2.3 develop today. So that's all regarding update on distance-based algorithm. I believe you would be able to reach the distance-based algorithm in our mainline branch even in the really nearest future. But now I want to stop sharing my screen, and I want to provide a possibility to Alex from Magestore to make a presentation of the really interesting stuff. He will present the POS application, which actually uses all the new features provided by Magento 2.3. So I'm stop talking, and just the stage is yours, Alex.
Okay, thank you, Igor. Hi, everyone. Yes, I'm Alex from Magestore, and today I will show you our point of sale software we built based on the Magento and PWA, and it's work with the MSI of Magento 2.3. And first, let me show you my screenshot. Okay. So basically, our point of sale software is a web-based point of sale. It's a web-based application, and it built based on the PWA technology. And it's work with it connect with Magento via the REST API at this time. And this year we will update to work with the Magento GraphQL. And the data in POS will be synchronization with Magento in real time. And our point of sale is a service worker in PWA to work with the offline data in browser. In browser, we store the offline data from Magento like products, inventory, customer, and orders. And it's help us to speed up the speed of POS by using data in local. And with the MSI, we made the integration with MSI to make our point of sale more powerful. You can see here at the left, you can see it's Magento source and stock, and at the right is our point of sale. And we build point of sale like a new sale channel for Magento besides the Magento website. So here you can see it's a POS location. It's maybe the physical store of the merchant, and we consider it like a new sale channel for Magento, and it connect with a stock of Magento, and this stock connect with only one source. And our point of sale will read the data from stock and write to update the inventory to source. So we follow the rule of MSI that we just read the data from stock and write the data to source. Okay, and now let us show you in our the backend functionality. And here is the menu of the PowerShell software here. You can manage the location and manage the POS, or we can create the staff account for login to POS. And here I create some sample data of location here, and you can see one. Yeah, you can see this POS location connect with a stock of Magento MSI here, and we can choose the new one. Yeah. And after I link the location with a stock of Magento, we can see the lead of inventory here we get from the Magento stock. Yeah. And now I try to log in PowerShell. And I choose the location, Tropicana, and choose POS, and enter the POS. Sorry. Yeah, here is a main screen of our PowerShell software. You can see all the product listing here with the stock from Tropicana stock. And in this screen, you can check all the stuff from other location here. Yes. And now I try to create the new order from POS. Yeah. So you can hear. So then I come back to backend to check the inventory of these products. Yeah, you can see here after we create the new order from POS, the quantity of product is updated in the source and stock to deduct two items. Yeah, I think we finished our demo on POS. You can ask me some questions on this. Hi, Igor.
Yep.
Yeah.
So can you share like your general feedback on? By the way, did you have the similar extension based on the catalog inventory, so on our previous inventory, or you just developed it from the scratch?
We just use the Magento MSI only.
I mean, did you have the similar extension based on the catalog inventory module?
Sorry, I'm not clear on the questions.
Before MSI, Alex, did you have a similar solution but based on our old inventory module?
Just based on our inventory module.
You had one, right?
Yeah, but it's just for Magento 2.2, and on Magento 2.3 we just use the MSI only.
Good, but for
How
example,
did you like it? How did you like creating the POS functionality for MSI? What was your experience? Can you say a few words about that?
Oh yeah. So when work with CMSI, I see that so basically I think the architecture of the MSI is really good for the merchant with have many physical store, and when they want to manage the inventory separate from their store, the MSI is very easy to manage it. And when we build the POS, we choose a concept to build a new sales channel for Magento besides the Magento website, and it's really easy to integrate. Yeah, that's this.
Thank you. Your feedback is important. Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah.
by the way, maybe there are some pitfalls or drawbacks which you consider should be fixed in the scope of MSI. So when we were talking before, you mentioned the sales channel possibility, extension of the sales channel. And because, for example, as I understood, for your purposes, it definitely makes sense to use the POS as a sales channel. So not the Magento website, but the POS as a terminal to be used as an independent sales channel.
Yeah, you can see here's the stock of the Magento MSI, and in the sales channel we you can see the website Magento here, and we add the POS location here. Is it considered like a new sales channel for Magento? Yeah. So when we go to the stock of Magento, you can see the website sales channel and POS sales channel here. Yeah, like this.
So in fact, you already implemented your own mapping of stock on a sales channel.
Now we need to write the plugin to because yeah, we have a small problem on this when we build our POS to connect with the MSI, because when we create a new order for Magento, it's a need to base on a website. Yeah, and in the in source of the MSI, the stock can be defined by the website ID.
Yeah, but probably what you can do in this case, you can add an extension attribute to the order object, and this extension attribute will actually represent the POS terminal. So that handling that order later, you can retrieve the particular POS terminal which was used to place this order.
Yeah, maybe we will try to do it, and yeah. And then another problem we meet when we build the POS and work with MSI is that with MSI we cannot return an order from to different stock. I mean, for example, if we create the order from stock A, and now we need to make the return to other stock, the MSI doesn't support it at this time, right?
Yeah. So, but actually, I can show you how to customize this part, because you're exactly correct. So, how we return, we under the hood we run the source selection algorithm, choose the most priority source and return to this source. this is how it's implemented. But if you want to specify manually on which source you want to make the return, you have to customize this part. Actually, there is no more customization, not a lot of customization needed. You need just to customize 1 or 2 classes to make that possible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I can show you after the meeting where it's where you can do it.
Okay, thank you.
By the way, maybe there are some questions from Anton Krell or from Yise, because Alex mentioned that he uses PWA Studio.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you have particular PWA questions.
Well, that's not really the expected question. So which version of PWA Studio did you build upon? So you just took whatever was on the main line at that moment? Did you use Magento?
Sorry?
So, oh, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can hear you. Okay.
So which version of PWA Studio did you use? So like, did
Also,
you use whatever was in mainline?
yeah. Basically, we build we use a React.js to build our PWA application. We not really use Magento PWA Studio at this time.
Okay, understood. So
Yeah.
what did you did you build it yourself, or did you use some other Magento PWA solution?
Yeah, we build about ourselves.
Yeah, understood. Okay.
Yeah.
So check out. I think yesterday with the announcement was sent out of PWA Studio. I would say I would call it MVP PWA Studio scenario coverage. You can check it out.
Yeah.
Alex, if you have trouble locating the PWA Studio announcements, any materials or resources that are associated with it, feel free to ping me in Slack. I'll either provide you the resources that you need or connect you to the right people, to the PWA team specifically.
Yeah.
Because it's
Thank you, Igor.
thing for us to see what early adopters of the PWA Studio can do, and getting your feedback, the issues that you encounter or things that you like would be really, really valuable for us.
Okay.
So thank you, Alex, for your presentation, and feel free to continue provide us feedback on whether MSI or PWA Studio, or you also mentioned that you use GraphQL. So like these are all projects where both community engineering team is involved. Either this project very interested for our core team, because these are very big our features, and this is just a beginning, so that many new updates would be rolling out in the scope of each of these tracks. So keep us posted on your feedback, and we will provide you our feedbacks on improvements we do in the scope of each of these tracks. So that the next one gonna be Lori. Last but not least, definitely not least, because documentation is the highest priority. Sometimes it's even higher than, in fact, writing code. So, Lori, tell us more about what we have.
Sure. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. Hello, everyone. So a really quick but very important documentation update is in our dev docs, we do have a page that walks through how you want to manage, install, and now update or upgrade MSI. Now, if you have a fresh install of Magento 2.3, either open source or commerce, you will automatically receive MSI. It will be replacing all inventory management, as we've talked before. But say you're on a 2.1 or 2.2 release line and you are really eager to get upgraded to 2.3 and use MSI. These modules will all be disabled by default. This is to ensure that any custom code you already have in place doesn't get knocked out. You don't have issues if you use order management from Magento, things of that nature. But enabling them is very easy, and I've added some information here in this guide. I'll also provide a link in Slack, and there's a link in Twitter. I'll go ahead and get moving again. That kind of walks through what you need to do, how to enable these, and including a lot of other documentation links also in the dev docs. Now, when we get to the new package for 1.10 of MSI, which is going to include all the great things we've talked about, including that distance-based algorithm and all the performance enhancements, which I've been using them. They're amazing. We will have a couple extra steps documented if needed, but we're hoping that this will be a seamless, easy update. But just in case, if you do have to take an extra step, we'll get it documented and we'll let you know. We also have release notes and draft that you can find in the wiki for MSI, as well as those are now getting prepared to go live as soon as the package goes live. For additional documentation updates that are in the pipeline, Kevin here in DevDocs is also working on some API documentation updates to support the new source selection algorithm for distance-based. So we should start seeing a PR moving around that you guys can kind of get a quick peek into those as well. That's all I have this time. Unless you have questions or feedback, happy to take those.
Thank you, Lori, for a great job you're doing. And this really nice to see how people asking some particular questions, and we are just not repeating all the answer again and again, but just provide the link to the documentation. So this is just awesome.
Oh, and just an FYI, Igor has also written this incredible dev blog that's coming soon that's going to go over all the new service contracts and technical guidelines with an eye on MSI and how awesome those APIs are to support it. Just FYI, it's on the way. It's coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So Lori was actually our last presenter, so we are done for today, unless there are some open questions, ideas, so forth.
I wanted to add one thing, if I may. Thank you, everybody. Again, congratulations to Ricardo, who has already left this meeting, but still. Looking forward to those, the Julia stickers. I just wanted to mention that we are having a live stream today. It's going to be a quick 1-hour meeting with the entire community engineering team, where we're going to present a quick status update, where we are, and goals for 2019. Everybody's going to be presenting. Igor's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Everybody's going to be there. We're going to be having some fun talking about what we have for you and what kind of help we may need, and talking a little bit about how you can join us and help us. So please check out our community calendar for that. I can also send you the link to it real quick in the chat. Yeah, I will in a second. So yeah, looking forward to everybody attending and asking questions, talking to us, listening. Everybody's welcome. Thanks.
Igor, we have a question in the chat, and people asking to share.
Yep, I'll send the link in a second. Hold on. Our community calendar doesn't show it for some reason. So it is going to be a YouTube thing. There it is. I have the link. I'm copying it. And Zoom and chat. And there you go. All right, you should have the link in the Zoom group chat. So check it out. It's at 1 p.m. Central Time. So in 2 hours. Okay?
Okay.
That's everything from my end. Thank you, everybody.
So looks like we're done now. Thank you, thank you everybody for your time, and see you in a week. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.